Action point number 3, list of staff paid under IFMIS and their allowance and the amounts paid. Director of Finance, Deputy Director of Finance.
Good morning, Lord Mayor, Honorable Councillors. As requested from the last meeting, we hereby present the list of staff benefiting from the IFMIS allowances. From the list up, you have the CEO, Paset Cisse, is the approving authority, is being paid 7.5 allowance. Landing Colley, Director of Internal Audit, is paid 7,000. Bakri Diba, the Finance Manager, as also designated budget officer, who is key in the IFMIS, is paid 6,000. Yankuba Sonko also is accounts clerk implementing the audit, the IFMIS as well, is paid 4,000. Mamadi Jao, senior cashier, is paying 4,000. Ashatundao, assistant cashier, is also paid 4,000. Sarata Jaite, procurement officer, they're also implementing the IFMIS. They are all IFMIS users, 4,000. Serif Njai, Deputy Director of Finance, receiving 7,000 as an approving authority. Nyima Jiba, accounts clerk, 4,000. Fatu Jallo, assistant accountant, 4,000. Basiru Njai, audit assistant, 4,000. Rohi Sane, accounts clerks, 4,000. Kausu Jaune, finance manager, 4,000. Yusuf Assar, accounts clerk, also the auditor coordinator, TOT, 4,000. Abdullah Jane, procurement manager, receiving 4,000. Yankubo Njai, procurement officer, 4,000. Dauda Gomez, IT technicians, also 4,000. Jara Minte, accountant, paid 4,000. Aishatu Kamara, accounts clerk, being paid 4,000. And Jara Bajo, procurement assistant, are paid 4,000. These are the users of the IFMIS from these offices implementing the IFMIS as requested.
What is the total? 91,500.
Yep. Yeah.
Monthly. Times it by 12. 1,098,000. The floor is open. Bakote what?
If you go by this figure, first I will need an explanation from the Finance Committee here, whom at the last council meeting here, we asked him how many people are benefiting from this package, and he said about 10 people. Now we see 20. And you were key in allocating this because it came to our committee, we sent them back for analysis, and you did it with them being the finance committee here. You were informing the council that it was about 10 people that are benefiting from this package. Now we see 20. First, we need that explanation.
I was trying to get this information from Clark because the time we were discussing about this, the name of the personals we are not identified, but we just say like people who should use it. We say that the CEO, the finance director, and then at least certain people of the account department we are in fact mentioned, and then procurement 2 people were mentioned, and then audit 2 people were mentioned. No, 1 person was mentioned at the audit at the initial stage. So if you check some of these staff here, when did they start the job? Maybe like the auditor, he started the job less than 2 months. He was not part of it, but it was only 1 person who was benefited, if I'm right. So now, cashiers, I don't know why those cashiers are benefiting, because I don't know what, I don't think they are IFMIS users. It's just today, to my surprise, I see this list, and then cashiers, in fact, been involved. I think it's only the Deputy Finance Director who can help us to clarify that. Thank you.
Deputy Director of Finance, can you confirm, are all of these people IFMIS users?
Yes, Lord Mayor. With regards to the IFMIS, it's a complete package that all these people listed are IFMIS users.
Are they actually using the IFMIS or not? Yes.
Yeah, everybody's using it. We are at in the implementation stage. Everybody is trying to implement it at the cashier level, at the procurement unit, at the accounts unit, as well as at the audit.
So all 20 listed here are active IFMIS users?
They are active IFMIS users.
Bakote.
Yeah, Yes, I am not denying that they are active IFMIS users. My argument here is, where does that authority came from to give this specific allocation from the council coffers to pay them these extra allowances? It should either come from the exhibition committee or from the finance committee or from the general council. So where does that approval came from to do this allocation? Because this is a good amount of money. This is why we are complaining that our payroll is now going up 8 million, 7 million, and so on. And there are these coming up increments, that we are not even aware of in terms of pay, because the number of staff, the payroll is not increasing, but the amount paid at the end of the month is increasing. How does all these things came about? And right now, these are some of the things I was complaining about during the last budget session, that all what staffs need, if it is featured in the budget, they make sure it is achieved. But all the development going to our communities will be, part of the under-achieved budgets. So that will be put aside because we cannot meet our target. But what they're supposed to have in the pockets must come. So we need explanation on this. Where does the approval came from to do this allocation, please?
Okay, before this was done, was it taken to a committee or it came to the council?
It was taken to a committee, and then for me, I have the belief that it was taken to the council, general council.
Yeah.
So, but I know that if you guys give me time, by the next general council, I will go through the committee committee recommendations, and then if there is anything that was presented at the general council, we will bring the evidence as a proof, and then so that we can debate over it.
Clark.
But I know that you will be surprised. You will be surprised. I know that there was something discussed at the committee meeting about this IFMIS, and then something was brought to the general council here. Yes.
All right, Christian community rep.
Like I said last week, even if they are using it, I don't see the reason, the rationale, the wisdom in having to have an extra allowance for using the system. Remind me again, you had mentioned last week that the IFMIS personnel were on site for how long to train the staff on using the IFMIS system? Director, you mentioned, how long were they on site? If you want to just remind me. I think last week you mentioned a period about how many months? 3 months. Okay, 3 months to train the staff. And in your submission, you mentioned some of them are still in the implementation stage. So why should they be in the implementation stage? How long have they been enjoying this allowance when they are still in the implementation stage? Meaning they are not still even using the system to add value to the work of council. My concern is, this is not IFMIS giving us money to pay anybody that is using the system. This is taxpayers' money being used to give people that seemingly are using a system to add value, but if you go deep, you realize it is not the case. My take here is, since there are gray areas that we cannot determine, one we were told about 3 because you know, say myself, the CEO, and somebody else. He mentioned about 10. We come to realize it's 20 people. I would want to crave the indulgence of my colleague here to say this payment has to be stopped forthwith until we are able to scrutinize what happened, how did it happen, who approved it, who benefited and was not supposed to benefit. Once we are able to tidy those things, then we are able to agree who to allocate it if they are deserving of the money. But otherwise, I think none of them is deserving because it's still unclear. That's what I would want to advise, because this is taxpayers' money. We need to put it where it's supposed to go. I cannot go out there and tell people we're paying certain people this money and we don't know who gave the approval, how, and the wisdom in paying that money. Thank you.
I think the Christian community rep has said it better than anybody could. I think it's a matter of principle. If we are not paying maids broom allowance to sweep, we are not paying drivers steering wheel allowance, we are not paying gardeners ngosi allowance, or whatever you want to call it. I don't think you should pay anybody an allowance to use a tool that will make it easy for them to do their job. As a matter of principle, I told you from day one, When you guys came to the office talking about this IFMIS allowance, I asked you, is government going to pay for it? You said no. I told you I'm not in support of such allowance. IFMIS is a government tool they want to use to monitor institutions. If they are seeing that institutions are not using it, even a government, they should not even encourage anybody. You use it or you lose your job. Man, do understand the I bring a new tool as a government. Man, use use. You are fired. Why do you have to pay me? And it's like you are bribing me to do my job. But if this is their policy that they want to encourage people to use it, then let them pay for it. We were perfectly fine with our softwares we were using. Ñom bu ñoo use lo FMIS lu ñu wax dañ ñoo fay subvention. I think that was the encouragement. For us, that was enough motivation to use the software. Where's the subvention? How many years? So, man, luma gis rek is government employees trying to take care of themselves. You know, the one is 7,000 for this salary jambul ladi as an allowance. That's why I said, if that, then all of us we want allowance. I want to use IFMIS. Yeah, it's exploitative. $1 million in them dugal ko si allowance. Yenen development projects in. Let's be fair. We have to be fair. We have to be fair to our fellow employees. We have to be fair to the taxpayers. Let's be fair. So at the end of the day, man, I think as a matter of principle, I will go further. I don't think this is a matter of should we even investigate. I think let's cancel this allowance. Are you paying rates and allowance to use rate software? Are you paying HR and admin allowance to use admin software? Are you paying a license allowance to use metric software? So now we have to pay people to use our software. You use it, you keep your job, you don't lose it, you are fired. I think it's a matter of principle. So I think this allowance, and in the Finance and Audit Act, it clearly states, government cannot impose liabilities on councils without providing the money. If government wants allowances to be paid, they have to transfer this allowance to us and we can pay it, or they can pay you directly. I think that is as simple as that. Ibotan.
These things are not even justified. You cannot justify them anyway. For example, my rent allowance. My rent allowance is 4,000 or 3,000. You are giving me IFMIS allowance. IFMIS allowance, that is only, maybe you will use it a day, maybe 4 hours or 3 hours, you are paying 7,000 or you are paying 4,000. And I can see even some of the staffs here are junior staffs, but they're using IFMIS. But I think, this thing, like Mayor says, you cannot justify these things anyway, and this thing need to be stopped immediately. $1 million. Lamin said it right. Since we came, we reviewed the payroll just last year. When we reviewed the payroll, the salary was not up to 6 million. The salary was 5 point something. But when we went, because at the time we were not concentrating, we went for elections and stuff. When we came, and I think the administration, they are aware of this, because I can say there are certain things that they do this exercise, our audit exercise. And since we came, we asked that recommendation, but still now we do not see it. But I think, let's do things in a right way. We are here to motivate our staffs and make sure that, they are comfortable and they live within a very conducive environment. But there are certain things that, we have to avoid them. And I think, the Director of Finance have to take responsibility of these things. Yeah, honestly. They have to take responsibility. That department have to take responsibility, because these things, you cannot justify it anywhere. And I think, they have to stop it immediately.
I think if someone says like this, if IFMIS allowance is not being justified, I think we are not doing justice to ourselves. This program, the time it was rolled to all the area councils here, did any area council reject it? None of the area councils rejected, because the systems that all the area councils were using are not correct systems. When they ask you to generate your financial statement, you cannot generate. That's why we are having issues at the FPA committee. Last week, each area council is given an ultimatum that you must use IFMIS. And then there is a penalty if you fail to use IFMIS. And then the time Ministry of Finance, the Accountant General Office, with the permanent secretary, the former permanent secretaries, the ministers, the director of governance with UNDP, the time they were funding these projects, they were sending letters to the council here from 2018 till 2022, if I can remember, for several trainings. Some trainings are conducted within their head office in Banjul, some in these provincial towns and so on. For more than 3 years, they have been sending staffs here. There are investment in these projects, whereby they give computers, routers to area councils. So if today we come here, maybe we are not getting those updates, or someone is trying to say the admin is aware of it. Yes, they are aware of it, because they are all serious correspondents. And these things are in fact, the auditors see this, and the auditors knows about this. So if in fact KMC, as I'm talking to you, KMC is the only area council that is paying less allowances for this IFMIS than any other area councils. And then two, we can just check. Actually, I think we should all be honest to ourselves. We check who are these IFMIS users properly, and we allow them to use the system. But coming here saying that, for example, if you don't know anything, it's better you ask. But coming here, in fact, trying to say certain things here, I think we are not justice to ourselves. So that's what I have.
Ibotan.
Yes. Come on, I will repeat again, these things is not justified. I mean the amount. They can use IFMIS without these huge allowances. Here is an institution. If, for example, rates, we want to digitalize the rates unit. If all those things want allowance, then come on, which development will the taxpayers get? Come on, there are certain things that those. I will keep on repeating that these things no one can justify it, because this amount you cannot justify it anywhere. If they make it $1,000 or $500, no one will say anything. But this huge amount, you cannot justify it anywhere. If government are encouraging to use IFMIS, come on, I think come on, we are helping them. Like you mentioned here, PACPEX. Because we are helping them so that everything will be transparent and they will understand all the transactions of council. They have to help us. They are not giving us allowance, they are not giving anything. So I think, for example, me, I said, my office allowance, I need office allowance. Important word, I need office allowance. So these things, you cannot justify it in any form. And you cannot,
I think Ibotan Lumwa, Mantam Lulawa. Nobody is saying that it is not justified to use IFMIS. IFMIS. Coming back to my point, what I'm saying, it is not justified to pay yourself to use a software, because Yange set a dangerous precedent. We are all having working tools. Any job in this land or in this world, you have to use working tools to make your job better, more accurate, more transparent. But you cannot pay somebody an allowance to use their working tool unless using that working tool poses a risk to their life or their health. So you say job, they pay extra allowance right, for using a tool is because it is a risky job. But using a software, so do they pay allowance, where does it stop? So I think what he said is right. So this allowance came as $1,000, even as high as 2,000. I don't think nobody will talk. Then you want it's just another allowance. But when you pay yourself an allowance the size of a salary, two wrongs don't make right. Just because other councils are doing it, don't mean this thing is right. It is up to us to set the standard as KMC and say this is wrong. So basically, if government wanted to encourage people, they could have come up with an allowance. So you don't pay some subventions. You don't have leverage on the council. If they were paying subventions, they will say, council, if your data is not presented on IFMIS next year, your subvention of 30 million will not come. Your subvention of 10 million will not come. Can we use software? We will all obviously use it. But that's even beside the point. Whether they are paying us or not, I don't think we need to encourage anybody or we need to bribe anybody to use the software. Let the government come with a law in the FPAC committee at Parliament recommending a law that all institutions should be under this thing. Let Ministry of Local Government come up with a regulation. They cannot go to Let them, Ministry of Local Government, as a ministry, they are policy making body. I'm going to feel suñ jotay de am sax. Ñom they wanted to get into our administrative function. That is not their job. Their job is regulation. Policy formulation. Ñom dañu waroon come up with a regulation and say all councils must be on this software. Then we have no choice but to abide. This is poor governance. Bribing your staff to use a software. It is the epitome of poor governance. Mom mi ne yow amulo kaddu. So legi da nga bëgg nax ñep ñuy software bi is wrong. So like he said, MIAMITI is not justified. The allowance is not justified. The software is more than justified. Because they want more transparency, better books like the Councillor of Talending South is saying. We are all witness that our books are not in order. We are all witness that we have a lot of problem when we go to FPAC. There's a lot of unpresented vouchers, unpresented receipts, a lot of unaccounted expenses, or all because maybe, for me, I thought it was the capacity of our finance department. But maybe also is the systems we are using. So we must use these systems. But should we bribe people to use this system? That is fundamentally corrupt. I'm not saying the individuals are corrupt. I'm saying that mindset. Ne foog nga bribe nit pour mu def liggéeyam. That cannot go. So basically, ñun lu ñoo wax as a matter of principle, we cannot justify paying such amounts. Now, if you go back to your finance committee and you bring amounts that are reasonable, then we can review it at that point in time. When the Lolendi Wahni is too much. The highest allowance, even for any position in this council, including the mayor, can it reach 7,000? A single allowance? For what? Man shouldn't see Mansa. I told it to somebody. All allowances should be scrapped. Let us just increase people's pay. But allowance is a cheating. Bugulo new tax la so nga ini allowance. That's why even the former president mu ini allowance are taxable now. So please let us do what is right, because munu ñoo justify li then ñuy dem di aye ñeneen yi. B is not correct there. So let us just move. Finance committee and the finance department come up with an allowance system that is in line with other similar allowances. If risk allowance is, I don't know, 500 or 750 and whatnot, risk allowance mo warona neka lisa, because you also liggéey mbalit nga febar nga ñaka sa bakken. So liggéey dom say dara jot la nga ñaka sa bakken. We have a mbalit staff who got crossed and lost his life. Ana allowance he got crossed by the mbalit truck, he lost his life. Amna kenen who was left permanently deformed. So please, streamline Lee. So for me, let's pass a resolution. We cancel this allowance until a time where the finance department can come back with reasonable numbers and a good justification as to why the council should pay. Just because every other council is doing it is not correct. And the payroll, we already told establishment. I even told them in my office. I haven't still seen the work. Last time when you came in our first council, they gave a good head count, payroll review. You have to do it. Because how can we say our staff numbers did not increase, but our payment is just going up and up? Now, so whole staff payroll cost 80-something million. Do you know that is more than Banjul City Council revenue? Just our staff payroll? That is almost 80% of Birkama Area Council revenue. Just our staff. All the other rural councils combined, our 89 million is more than their gross revenue. Just for salaries. So let us do a thorough payroll review, a thorough head count, a thorough review of the allowances, and make sure di ekati. So please, So I think we don't need to labor on this too much.